Watkins Glen is among the fastest tracks in North America, so it's fitting that we start things off with Go Fast Day as we get ready for qualifying in the Zenith Racing Series. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Later down on pit lane, we'll be joined by Sloan Polesner. Joey, a lot like last round, if your car doesn't have some grunt underneath, it's going to be a tough weekend.
Yeah, Watkins Glen, it definitely has those straightaways, and even from this shot, you see the uphill S's. You want the horsepower to keep going up that hill and drive your way all the way down this front straightaway into the inner loop. And, of course, we also have that entire boot section as well. So we are using the full layout here at Watkins Glen, and from these aerial views, you can see how beautiful the weather is for a weekend of racing.
Yeah, it's a little warm on the track itself, but it has been fantastic out so far this weekend. Of course, it is early stages, and there is some prediction of rain later on, so that could change the complexion of things quite dramatically. But before we get there, let's just tackle with today. In the meantime, we talked about Sloan joining us down on pit lane. Sloan, it has been an interesting weekend getting to see how the drivers are feeling about this place. There's some with experience, some without, but I think by the end of this weekend, there'll be a lot that have plenty to talk about. Apologies, having just a couple technical difficulties there. We'll get that sorted out in just a second. Here we see that infamous final turn here at Watkins Glen. Joey, one of those spots where you really have to make sure you're on the ball, because if you overstep the boundaries, that wall is right there.
Don't want to, like you said, overstep any boundaries. You got these amazing powdery blue guardrails that really line this place, and they are not your friend if you're in a race car.
All right, let's give this another try. Sloan, really looking forward to seeing the cars get out on the track.
I'm absolutely looking forward to these cars getting out on track too. We've had an amazing morning of practice sessions. I've talked to a few of the drivers. They say the track's feeling good. The weather is beautiful. We do have a little bit of clouds in the sky. I know that we are a little worried about rain, but I don't foresee that in our future for today. I have to say, I feel like these drivers are feeling really good. The stage is set. Let's see who can take pull. Back to you, Joe and Joey.
I think that's the big thing, Joey, is trying to get that track position around here. Although, talking to a lot of the drivers, this is another of our 7-hour race format, and it sounds like for most of them, they just want to get a time on the board. If they don't qualify as well, they're more focused on getting the car set up for the races itself. So we'll see who really puts it in to try and get a quick lap time and who is just content to try and line up on the grid.
Every driver, every team has their own kind of outlook on how they want to approach each one of these sessions. And like you were just mentioning, qualifying, probably the most important session there is leading up into that race. And as you see, we've got the ZR4 class right now lining up to start their qualifying session. We're going to be going through each one of these classes, starting with ZR4, then ZR3, ZR2, and then ultimately the ZP2 cars will be closing out our qualifying. You see them rolling off of pit lane right now, and really, those were the two cars that were duking it out in qualifying just a couple weeks ago at Road America, that Corvette and also the Porsche Boxster.
And I think we'll be seeing kind of a similar situation to what we did with Road America in terms of the lap times. So I'm kind of curious how many chances they'll get to go around here. This isn't as long as Road America, but especially for these ZR4 cars, I can't imagine they're going to get too many circuits around this place.
And including the warm-up lap, right? That's the biggest thing with how long this racetrack is. It takes several minutes away just to get to that green flag to start your qualifying lap. And 15 minutes, it's not a whole lot of time for the drivers to, let's say, go out there and get into a rhythm of things, right? They need to go out there, get the thing warmed up on lap number 1, and immediately start performing on that first timed lap.
This is that 66 team with Tab currently in that car. And this was a team that was incredibly fast back at Road America. But talking to the drivers, it sounds like they did still learn a lot. They didn't win in race 2, though, we should note. And they even told me that it was kind of their own fault that they didn't wind up coming home with the trophy on that one. Just had some fuel issues that they needed to sort out, as well as a few things such as getting some speeding penalties during the Code 60s that wound up costing them. Here right now, fuel not really that big of a concern. However, Joey, they did tell me that they put more wing in it compared to what they had at Road America. I'm guessing that's more down to how many fast corners we have around here.
You're really loading up the sides of the car. Not that you aren't at Road America, but the corners a little bit more abundant here at Watkins Glen versus truly the straightaway, call it drag racing poles that we get at Road America. Watkins Glen, and especially when we get down into that boot section, you want the stability in the car, you want the aerodynamic performance, especially when you get up into those medium and high speed corners. So we're going to see if those adjustments that this team made, maybe putting a little bit more wing into this Corvette, is going to pay off with a pole position. They're starting their first timed lap here in qualifying.
Emil Tab already on the throttle, heading his way around. We saw some signs of Oakley in that number 12 trying to get up to speed. And in fact, I think I just heard him go by me at the front stretch. So they're probably starting their timed lap now. But we have to wait patiently to see how it all works out. This Corvette, like we talked a lot about last time, a bit of a unique one of what you'd expect in this ZR4 class. Maybe a bit more high-tech, a bit more power, but of course they've balanced it out. And some of that comes down to when I spoke to the team, they mentioned they've raced it in similar series where it was already detuned. They already had the mapping pretty close to how it needed to be. So they kind of knew what to expect coming into it, which I imagine is a big part here, Joey, that just being used to how the car is going to handle in a specific setup.
It's one of my most difficult words to say, familiarity. Familiarity, right? And the more familiar you are with the car and how it's performing underneath you, it just is that comfort factor, right? And it's kind of showing right now. Look at all of the track width that Emil is using. Not afraid to put it inches away from the grass in these certain sections. You talked about that guardrail, but we usually have a good 3, 6, maybe even 10 feet of grass in between the edge of the track and that guardrail. And right now, this number 66 Corvette, I see it purple sector 1, Joe, purple sector 2 by quite a bit.
Yes, so far Rosenbaum is out there with a couple second times. Oakley is as well. But nobody has been able to go quicker in those first 2 sectors than Emil Tab. Sheldon Rosenbaum is going to be an interesting one to watch. I've called some sim races with him on iRacing in the past, and cool to see him hop out here to real-world racing and give it a go. But let's see what the first lap looks like for Emil. A 2:09.8 on the board, so there's the marker for everyone.
Yeah, that carrot to go out there and chase. And Joe, I want to bring up the point that you had mentioned when we started the show. So this Corvette just completed lap number 1, and look, we're already a third of the way through this session. Only 10 minutes remaining. Now, thankfully, you've already got that out lap done, so you can just kind of keep doing the laps out there and try to keep gaining that position and dropping that lap time. As we see Rosenbaum here, Sheldon just put in a 2:15.8, and then also Douglas Oakley right now to 226.4. I think that these other cars, meaning the Subaru BRZ and the Porsche Boxster, going to be definitely dropping these lap times closer to where that Corvette is here in these next coming laps.
Right now, there is a pretty big disparity, even at a lap of this length. So they'll have quite a bit of work to do. And this Toyota is one that definitely wanted to be out there more at Road America, but never really got to show what is possible. Glad to see it out on the track, circulating, putting lap times down here at Watkins Glen. It's down through the inner loop, swinging it back for the outer loop now. It's a plunge downhill. The elevation change definitely shows on television, Joey, but it's nothing like seeing it in person, how big of a drop it is here.
Elevation is abundant throughout this entire lap. I mean, from turn number 2 all the way up into the inner loop, it's that steep uphill climb through the S's, and then you had just mentioned it, once you get into this section, it's kind of that downhill plunge through the laces, and this is turn number 7, the toe of the boot down here. Call it at the very, very far end of the racetrack. Little bit of an uphill coming out of that corner. It's greatly uphill going into it, and then you kind of crest the top here, slightly downhill into this braking zone, and that's what makes it so tricky. You're actually carrying a pretty good head of steam in there, and just that ever little bit downhill wants to continue the car to driver's left. You really got to wrangle that thing into the apex.
So it looks like a little bit of an improvement by Emil that last time by for the 66 team, down to a 2:09.8. But we're still waiting for the other two to come by. Only purple first sector, though, for that Paragon Performance team. Otherwise, didn't really even go personal best in Sector 2 and Sector 3. So must have been a lot more in that first part of the lap, which is honestly just the 90 and the S's. And really, you should be flat out through the S's. So I'm guessing he just was way, way better in turn 1.
I think that the times are starting to be a little bit more relative now, especially for Douglas Oakley, a 2:11.7. That dropped it several seconds to get closer to that number 66 Corvette. And just something that I was kind of scratching my head over here. I believe that the Toyota that we're actually watching right now is one of our newer entries, because there was that Myota team back over at Road America that campaigned a very, very similar car. But I believe this is the first time we've seen the 779 on track.
Thank you. You're right. I'd gotten those confused. And so another one that is out here racing for the first time. We've been seeing more and more competitors show up each weekend that we have this series. That Porsche Boxster, though, is not new. That was around last time out. As they come around, they have got themselves quite a bit of speed, it looks like, over their rival. And it looks like they are not going to hold them up as Sheldon decides to hold to the inside and let that Boxster through. Last thing they want to do is hold up another car, get a penalty before the racing itself properly starts.
I have to get a good chuckle out of the name of the 779, the team name, the Lagunatic Racing. I wonder if they like Laguna very much, Joe.
Well, actually, I don't know if we want to go down to Sloan in a bit, because she had been talking to the team a little bit about that, and it's not what I expected, because I had the same thought as you, that Laguna Seca maybe was related on that one. But it is an interesting story, so hopefully we can bring her in a little bit to talk a little bit about why it's named Lagunatic.
Awesome aerial views here of Douglas Oakley driving around the Rockwell Autosport Development Porsche Boxster, currently sitting in P2. And then just got to remember also that this is the first of our classes. This is just ZR4. We have several more qualifying sessions coming up after we get through here with the ZR4s.
Yeah, this is just the slowest class right now that they're working on. So the drivers will have the track mostly to themselves, but we're going to see some bigger fields start to show up in the faster classes. This is actually still relatively new, these ZR4s. They only first showed up at Road America, and the teams and drivers have been getting a real quick lesson in how these races run Some of them obviously been able to pick up on the idiosyncrasies a little quicker than the others. I talked about that 66 team, and one of the things that did catch them out was they said that they had gotten their speeding penalty that cost them a lap and potentially the win in class in the second race because their driver instinctively turned off the pit limiter at the end of the pit lane, but they were under code 60, Joey. And it's those little things, I feel like, that you don't think about that can sometimes ruin your day.
Don't beat yourself out there on the racetrack. That is one of the things that I always say during a race, and sometimes it's down to those little itty-bitty details. And, yeah, just slipping on the pit lane speed limiter. Kind of a little bit of a shake of the head there, but guess what? Mistakes happen, and it's all about learning and how you recover from those. And we've certainly seen a lot of teamwork, whether it be on the driver's side, whether it be on the crew side, from attrition, getting cars back out there, or from what you just mentioned, maybe the possibility of a penalty coming down during one of these races. And it's all about how you climb yourself out of that hole. And a lot of these teams and competitors have that no-quit attitude here at ZRS. It's great to see.
Tell you what, that Lugunatic car is getting ever closer. Rosenbaum managing to get it within about 4 seconds of Douglas Oakley. Still needs a bit more, but that is much smaller than those first few laps that we saw put on the board. Oakley's last lap actually cut down to a 2:11.2. Let's see what this lap is. This is the 12 just getting ready to cross the start-finish line. 2:11.3. They were a tenth off of their best. However, Sheldon has a 2:14.4, so that is much, much closer. And I believe Sloan has managed to get a chance to talk to some about the Lugunatic team. Sloan, tell us the true story.
So I had some time to catch up with the Lugunatic team earlier today, and so just a little backstory on them. They are a Tampa-based team, and they started in Champ Car. They're a bunch of mutual friends, but for this race, there's 3 new drivers that they have not driven with before, but are super excited to work with them. And a little backstory behind the name Lugunatic. Actually, there is a pool company that Lucas runs that is called Lucas Lagoons, and he said that he's a little bit crazy, so he thought he would name the team Lugunatic Racing, which I found hysterical, and then also found out that he has a TV show called Insane Pools. So that is your team owner, Lucas, and he's got a crazy story, but we're super excited to see what they can do this weekend. Little background info for you, Joe and Joey.
Thanks for that, Sloan. It's one of the things that, especially at this level of racing, Joey, I do love that the teams tend to have a lot of fun with it because you get bigger budgets and bigger sponsors and things can maybe get a bit serious. But here at Zenith, with it being all inclusive, the teams can just let their hair down a little bit, I guess you could say.
And it's fantastic to know that he is out there on the racetrack. That was actually one of my favorite shows to watch a couple years ago. Lucas has built some incredible backyard pools and also on the business side of things. So really neat to see him out here in the ZRS paddock as well. Pretty cool to have a celebrity out here racing and owning the team as we're getting just under 90 seconds here in ZR4.
You make a good point. Yeah, we've really run out of qualifying time for this first session pretty quickly. Sheldon's brought that Lugunatic car down to a 2:14.4 on this latest lap. And it's within about 3.2 seconds now of Oakley. It's going to take a big leap to try and jump up into second, but the good news for them is that Douglas has brought the 12 car into pit lane, so they are not going to be able to respond if Rosenbaum does manage to go quicker, but this is essentially the last flying lap for all of them for the most part. Emil Tab probably not going to be able to get to the start-finish line in time to start a new one, so as we watch that Corvette really chuck it through the inner loop, this looks like they're pushing. They did go purple in Sector 1, Joey.
Yeah, 31.0 in sector number 1. I think it rounded up there to 31.1. We are in sector number 2 right now. Go down through this boot section, and now you really have to drive the car into this corner here, drive the front end into the racetrack, and the Corvette is going to get on the gas as soon as possible. I see sector 2 time is not going to be a purple. You see it kind of that greenish color. It's more of a yellow. It's not personal best. We see the checkered flag is out, so it's going to be up to this number 66 in sector number 3 to see if they can improve on that lap time that they've already put themselves P1.
Yeah, it's not over yet. They could still go yet quicker. And as we wait for him to get to the line, do not see Rosenbaum in the pit lane yet. We'll see if they choose to stay out, but their first sector was not an improvement, it appears. Here goes the Corvette coming down towards the final turn. Will they push it and try to extend the gap, or are they going to bring the car in knowing they don't need to do much more from here? They're going to carry on, and let's see what the third sector looks like as they cross the line. Not an improvement. It was a 2:09.7 that last time by. And actually need to check to see where Rosenbaum is out on track. Looks like he's coming up to turn 9.
And I do show that 2:09.775 should be our pole time, and I think that was the last lap, correct?
Oh, you're right. Yes, no, it was an improvement. So apologies, I'd gotten that wrong. So yes, he did go quicker in the end. Must have been down to that first sector then, because again, I did not see Purple go up on his final sector. Again, that's twice now in one session we've seen them make a fastest lap of anybody just on the strength of the first sector.
Pretty impressive, just the consistency out of that Corvette. It's almost like what we saw at Road America is that once that thing gets wound up and it's just turning those consistent laps in a rhythm, it is going to be really tough to stop the pace of that one.
Looks like Sheldon's brought it in. He's not taking that final flying lap. So that wraps up our qualifying. The 3 cars that took part in this session saw Emil Tabb for Paragon Performance bring the 66 Corvette to the pole. Douglas Oakley for Rockwell Autosport has taken their car into second on that front row. And then Sheldon Rosenbaum from Lagunatic Racing has managed to take third. Did not see the 305 from Myota or the 769 from Powell Racing take to the track, unfortunately. But we do have more action coming up in a little bit as the ZR3 cars are going to be next on the track for our qualifying. And there are plenty in this class that has seen lots of action out there. AOA Racing, 9-4 Motorsports, definitely 2 of the standouts. But we can't forget about teams like Camburn Performance, who have also put on a good showing.
See some of the cars rolling through the Watkins Glen paddock right now as we have this very, very short, call it intermission in between each one of these run groups. It usually is about 5 minutes to make sure we've got the track nice and cleaned up and clear for this next run group to come out. Like you were saying, it's going to be the ZR3, so just slightly faster in terms of the speed, the outright lap time in each one of these run groups.
This is a group that has seen some fun changes throughout towards the end. Does look like we're going to hear from our pole winner from the ZR4s in just a moment as the Corvette has pulled up to Parc Ferme. Let's head down to Sloan to see what the story is from our pole sitters. Apologies, we'll go down to Sloan in just a little bit. And you can see the smile on his face. Definitely been enjoying this team. Actually made up of all daily mechanics that run their day job wrenching on cars and are basically moonlighting as race car drivers, but are showing there is plenty of talent out there to do more than just have this as a side hustle, as we'll come around the car and get a nice swig of water to get rehydrated, as it is still warm inside that car. And I believe now it looks like we are ready. Let's go to Sloan.
Good. Emil,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How you feeling?
Oh, great. Yeah, the car handles so good here. So the high downforce package we got on the car is like, the car's just bolted down. So pretty easy to drive, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Can you tell me what was your favorite part about the track?
Gosh, it's always got to be the bus stop, right? It's so unnerving to fly in there at the speeds that we can do. But yeah, it's still a ton of fun.
Do you think you left everything out on the track, or do you think the car still has some more to give for tomorrow?
There was a little bit more pace there. I made a couple mistakes on what was my best lap. I probably should have done a little earlier in the session than I did, but it's a long race, so that's what we're looking for.
So tell me, when you have those notes for yourself, do you go home, like, I mean, you probably don't have a sim with you, but what do you do to really kind of prepare to make sure you don't make those quote-unquote mistakes for tomorrow?
Yeah, so I do a ton of sim racing, but at the end of the day, it's like once you get in the car and drive it for 2 hours straight, it's really hard to simulate that. So, Road America was a great help, but got a lot of seat time there, and I'm hoping to do the same here.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and we'll see you on track tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, our pole winners, and wow, this is a dramatic change from what we saw in the ZR4s. Look at this, Joey. ZR3s are out, and it's almost like the floodgates have opened. All the cars have entered the track practically immediately.
Yeah, we've got them all bunched at the same area on the racetrack. We've got 7 ZR3 cars, and they're actually passing down into turn number 6 down there. So pretty interesting. Just everybody trying to get their little piece of clean racetrack, right? In qualifying, you don't want to be held up by another car. So if you feel like maybe have another maybe second or have a little bit more pace through some of these sections, you don't want to be stuck behind them when you take that green flag. You see the Ginetta here. I believe that we've got just the single Ginetta, the 177 here in the ZR3s.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. It's back to majority BMWs out there, which has kind of been the trend for much of the season. But the Ginetta has been holding down well, and that 177 team is got Anthony Pacelli currently in the car for Cambrian Performance, looking to try and see if they can upset the apple carts. But from what I've been hearing from a couple of the BMW teams, it sounds like most of them, interestingly enough, are actually focused on getting the downforce in the car around here rather than the straight line speed.
Right on board here with one of the cars. This is starting the first qualifying lap here, and we were talking about how much elevation is abundant throughout Watkins Glen, and I think that these onboard shots are a perfect example to kind of put that on display. Definitely downhill into turn number 1, but Joe, going up the S's here, look at how steep it is, and you can't see up around turn number 3 with these guardrails.
Speaking of which, looks like they might be getting quite a bit of a tow off of this car ahead. This is where you want it. It's the longest flat-out portion of the lap. And are they going to clear them, as we see on the bottom right? Yes, they are. So that worked out absolutely perfectly. They got themselves probably a tenth or two just on that straightaway alone.
If not more. Typically, these slipstreams can cause a big-time increase in the top speed, and when you're getting pulled along through that uphill section, that's exactly what you want, as a car essentially breaking all of that air in front of you, so that way you're just kind of towed along in the wake. It works the same exact way as a boat, right? If you got 2 boats, one leading another, that front one is going to push all of that dirty air out of the way, and then that second one's going to have a nice smooth ride. And it's exactly what this car used, that slipstream all the way up to the top of the hill, and it probably, like you said, gained him at least a couple tenths.
I believe this is the 392 with Sergio Ramirez for Harrison Motorsports that we are riding on board with. So they're going to hopefully get themselves a nice lap time from the little bit of help that they got from their cohorts out on track. There's another part where the track looks a little bit blind coming up through turn 9, much like Joey was talking about in the S's. And then things open up as we get a couple fast corners to end the lap. Little bit of corrections on the wind. Car sliding around. We did mention 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface.
That is quite warm. The first lap times are being put in right now. We're going to see where this BMW slots in, because right now it is the Ginetta that leads the way to 205.7. The car that we are riding on board with, driven by Sergio Ramirez, put in a 2:07.1, so about 1.4 seconds back, but does maintain that second place position.
It does look like it is a little close down there between 4th and 5th as well. We'll make that 5th and 6th because suddenly we see Million take the 9.4 Motorsports car up into 2nd place. That's about 9/10 off of our pole time for the current marker that we have on the board, but we watch the Ginetta, who leads the way. 2:05.742 is what everybody is reaching for out there. Let's see if this little Ginetta can pull one over on all the BMWs.
It was very, very fast in sector number 2 on the opening lap, but it was the BMW in sector number 1. And here on the second lap, it's kind of a similar story. Sergio Ramirez just went purple in sector number 1. The only caveat, though, Anthony Pacelli there in this 177 Ginetta that's just up the road that we're watching actually had a personal best in sector number 1. Sector number 2 doesn't show quite as fast as the opening lap. Joe, sector number 3, it is so technical up out of this boot section. You got to make sure to roll the apex speed through here. And then the 2 final corners, you really got to let the thing flow through it.
Yeah, Sector 3 starts after the exit of 7. Everybody knows it is the toe of the boot. So from there, it's an interesting mix of corners. And like you said, elevation change, climbing your way out of there. Their second sector, as you mentioned, wasn't great, but Sergio Ramirez, purple first sector, personal best second sector. Watch out for that 392. They may be third on the timing sheets, but they could be one to watch out for. Purple final sector for Pacelli, but Ramirez tops it, and it's down to a 2:04.9. It's a half-second difference between P1 and P2.
A huge jump from lap number 1 to lap number 2 for the BMW M3 of Harrison Motorsports. Sergio Ramirez is now the one that is everybody giving chase to right now. Pacelli here drops back to what is second place, and the difference, nearly 3/4 of a second. That's a pretty big lap time from that BMW.
It is. How much do they want it is the question, because one thing we haven't touched on, these are the tires that these cars have to race on. So the more they use up, the more they're going to wear them out. Now, granted, they're going to be lasting 7 hours, so they have more in them. This isn't like you would see in Formula One where their qualifying tires are pretty much used up within 2 laps of use. That said, wear and tear on the equipment is at the top of the things that these teams are paying attention to from my time chatting with them. It's even to the extent, Joey, that they said they don't necessarily go out for every practice.
Joe, you had talked about the draft when we were watching from the onboard from one of the cars a little bit earlier. And I see the AOA racing cars. Those are the cars on the left side of the screen going up into this uphill section of the boot. But it certainly seemed like they were working together. One of them had the turn signal out to signal essentially that car behind, I'm letting you by. And I wonder if it was after they decided they wanted to give a tow all the way through turn number 1, all the way up the hill. And now that car is going to simply sit in second place, and maybe the favor is going to be returned to them this upcoming lap.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, and I did talk to the teams. They said that they do try and work together when they get the opportunity, even though they are racing for themselves. In the meantime, we'll watch these timings and see if anything improves. But I know Sloan's found a little bit of a nice place to relax. Sloan, where are you?
I'm here with not only a beautiful view, but also at the Media Center, which is where we're going to be hosting our Friday night social tonight. This is a free event that all teams, families can come to. We have drinks, we have food, we have games. Come take a little look inside here. come into my little wonderland. I wish it was my wonderland. We have some incredible games and food and drinks available for you guys tonight. Also, if you haven't seen my shirt that I'm wearing, also check the back. I think it's pretty cool. They are available to buy right over here for $25. We are selling these tonight, one night only. Just kidding. You can probably get them for more than just one night, but definitely come by and grab some Zenith merch, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys at the social tonight.
Definitely looks pretty nice in there from what we can see. I haven't been able to hop over, so I might have to go and check that out and maybe have myself a few drinks in the process. Not too many. We got 7 hours to try and call these races tomorrow. And as we watch these cars come down through, I was just looking back at our timing sheet. Ramirez has reset the fastest lap down to a 2:04. No, excuse me, they did not. They went into pit lane, I just noticed. Sorry, Joey. So they have not brought it any farther down. I do see that Pacelli has set a personal best first sector. Same thing with Messenger. So it'll probably come down to this final sector once again.
Just looking at the gaps and to kind of echo your point about Sergio Ramirez and Harrison Motorsports, I think they're in a comfortable position right now. They're 6/10, almost 7/10 up on second place, and then they have a second to third is another 7/10, so nearly a second and a half to first to third, and then there's another big jump from third to fourth back there, nearly 2 seconds between third and fourth, between the 96 and the 14. This is actually one of those AOA cars. We're going to see if they can kind of close up those gaps, and certainly seems like one of them already hitting pit lane, so they are going to abandon that lap. That's the number 14 car. We're going to see about the rest of them here as they cross through start finish, and I don't see any lap times improving currently, or positions being changed, I should say.
No, not for the moment, but we've got about 3.5 minutes left, so there's a couple laps in it if they want it. I will say that I checked Pacelli's last lap time in comparison. They were only a 10th off of their best. But, like you pointed out, 0.6 of a second between P1 and P2. They're going to need more than just a tenth or two. They need to find something in each of the sectors. Pretty much all the corners need to be improved as we see 3 of our BMWs come down the backstretch into the inner loop. Colloquially known as the bus stop, as it is that style of chicane, but officially, according to the track itself, it is still referred to as the inner loop.
Correct. Yes, it is the inner loop. I always have to catch myself, whether I want to call it the bus stop, whether I want to call it a chicane up at the top of the hill. But you're right. It's the inner loop that then feeds into that long sweeping right-hander, which they call the outer loop here.
Yeah, exactly, which also has its own secondary name, sometimes referred to as the carousel, too. But something about American tracks seem to always kind of borrow names from everywhere else. And we saw another of our cars kind of pull off to the side, let their competitor go, as they did not seem to be on a hot lap. This one that we're watching on our screen right now, I think, is the 85 coming down to the braking of turn 8. And that is Clifton Lipple for AOA Racing in that car, coming up the hill once again, looking for the turn in at the blind at turn 9. Just 2 more corners after this one, and they will have enough time for one last flyer if this doesn't do it for them.
I think getting some of our new graphics up as we see sector times here. Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and there you can kind of see the performance difference. The BMW dominant in sector number 1 and sector number 3. That's that 392 car. And then the 177 of Anthony Pacelli, the Ginetta, a little bit better through sector number 2. So 2 different styles of race car, Joe, 2 different manufacturers. And guess what? They make their speed in different areas.
And once again, my apologies. That's the 58, actually 54 that we were watching there down into pit lane. That is an AOA racing car, but that wasn't Clifton Lipple. That was Adams that was running in that machine. This is that Camburn performance that we've been mentioning time and again, but their first sector was not even a personal best, so not looking good right now. We'll see what the second sector holds, because that timing line is right here on the exit.
See a couple more of these cars go through the inner loop up here at the top of the hill. This is the 96 car. It shows Matt Million in it currently. P3 right now in terms of the overall time in this class qualifying, about 1.4 seconds off of our class leader right now. Doesn't show an improvement in sector number 1. Joe, I do see purple on the board. Just got to patiently wait for that 177 to cross start finish.
Ooh, okay. And remember what we saw. They hold the fastest second sector already, but they've now cut it down even further. They're clearly relying on their strengths. And is that kind of them coming up to me now? Yes, it is. They're just flashing past the booth. They improve, but it's only by a tenth. It's down to a 2:05.5. At least they're finding some right at the dying stages of this one. There's still more in it potentially. They just got to try and find those last little bits. At this point, the only car still out on track that could set a time is the 96 of Matt Million. Everybody else has either parked it, or I see that the 54 is marked as on an out lap, so they can't do anything from here.
Yeah, about a half second from first to second, and about 1.5 seconds from first to third right now. This number 96 car is going to opt to not finish this lap right here. So Matt obviously was looking at the data on the dash and just that time difference, said, you know what, we're not going any faster. We might as well take care of the car. Let's get it back to the team. And let's get it ready for this pair of 7-hour races we have this weekend.
Got to look out for the equipment for sure. Make sure that you don't use up any more than you need to. And Sergio Ramirez for the Harrison Motorsports team will be taking that provisional pole. Certainly should be something that they'll be happy about, but then they've got to turn this around in a few hours and come back after the night and start up the race early in the morning for the first of 2 races this weekend. Looks like Baselli, the only one able to improve late in that session. Nobody else showing up green on those final flying laps. I'm wondering how much of that, Joey, is you get the best out of it early in the session since it's so hot out there on the track surface.
It could be. I want to bring up the point of drafting, though, because you never know what you could get later into the session. Now, when you have a couple cars out there, in the case of AOA, you can coordinate that, right? You can coordinate that before you go on out there. Here is our shot of our ZR3 pole winner, by the way, the BMW M3 of Harrison Motorsports as Sergio Ramirez climbs out of the car. To my point, though, Joe, what happens if you're on a lap? Maybe it's not going to be the best, but all of a sudden the stars align and you get this huge draft all the way up the S's. That could turn into a purple fastest lap.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you got to be in it and stick with it. As you can see how sometimes these cars, they're very graceful on the track, but then the driver trying to get out of them, sometimes not as easy as you would assume. Sergio gets his equipment off, getting ready to get the photos. All smiles, probably quite satisfied with himself after that lap. And he'll get his nice little sign as well as he heads off to catch up with Sloan, who's going to talk to our pole sitter in ZR3.
Sergio, a face that we have seen up here a few times this season. Congratulations on getting pole, might I say, again. Can you tell me where you thought that the lap finally came together for you?
I think the car has just been very well set up all weekend. I think we have a fairly good aerodynamic balance, I feel. In Sector 1, it just feels amazing. And here, I mean, turn 1 all the way to the bus stop matters a lot. So that's where the car shines, and I think that's kind of just putting the rest of the sectors together, kind of put it all together.
That's incredible. It was so funny because I saw you walking over here a little bit ago. You weren't dressed, and I think I was like, oh, what's going on? You're like, oh, just interview me later. And now here we are. Did you kind of manifest that, or did you feel like you had it in the bag?
No, Sarah's been teasing me all weekend that I have to do some other interviews, so I've been dreading interviews, so here I am on another interview.
Yeah, you can never get away from me, huh?
Apparently.
What are you looking forward to for the race tomorrow?
Nothing, just having a good race, no crashes, no blowouts, no mechanicals. As long as the car can finish, I'll be happy.
Okay, awesome. Well, congratulations, and we're looking forward to seeing you out on track tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Back to you guys.
Well, I hope he's looking forward to a potential win because as we watch the other cars start to line up for the ZR2s now. Going to be somewhat similar in pace to our ZR3s. Retro Rockets is back out there. That was quite the story back at Road America, Joey. The first time I've ever heard of a team not just replacing an engine overnight, but replacing with an engine they literally got from Facebook Marketplace.
It was pretty neat. They have an LS motor in that Retro Rockets BMW, that white number 41 that is patiently waiting right now for the green flag to be displayed. So it just goes to show you the no-quit attitude that not only the drivers have, but all of the teams here in Zenith Racing Series. You want to make it to the checkered flag.
Exactly. It's all about the endurance. It is an endurance series, and I did hear from the drivers, too, that that's kind of how they felt this race was going to go here at Watkins Glen. It's a track known for its attrition at times because it is so punishing, because the walls are so close and a few fast corners, that just keeping out of trouble, keeping the car in one piece is going to be job one, and then it'll shake out where it shakes out. We'll let them get this outlap done, then we'll start to get a sense of where things sit. It's AJ Alsup. William Alsup, I should say, in the 41 I'm seeing now, as it looks like it updated. But this M3, the other thing about it that is unique is the fact that the team has put on a plethora of aerodynamic parts onto the car that make it have its own silhouette.
Very fun race car, right? It makes all the sounds. It looks fast, and that Retro Rockets team has certainly been one to be up towards the front of the field, especially leading these races. Once we get into it, the attrition comes in, and this 41 car is always still chugging along out there. But not just this number 41 is kind of a surprise story after that LS motor swap that you had just mentioned at Road America, but I see a lot of new drivers out here in the ZR2 class, and some serious talent has shown up at Watkins Glen. We got Sam Paley, I see, in the number 97. Of course, he has been racing all around the world in BMW GT4 competition. And then, Joe, a name that you should know quite well is Eric Filgaris. We know
Indeed.
him.
Yeah. The 159 and the 224. Now, granted, we'll see if they get out on track, because I do understand at least one of those teams said they were mostly here for testing. And then we're going to be competing elsewhere this weekend. If we do get to see Eric out on track, yeah, I've actually shared a booth with him before, too. Great behind the mic as well as behind the wheel. Would love to see him get to try his hand against some of these competitors out here. It has been cool seeing more and more names start to show up in this series. We've seen Sebastian Saavedra race in here. Former IndyCar driver has competed in this series. So there's definitely been a few stars that have been rocking up into the paddock to give it a go. That does not look at pace coming off of turn one, though. Did the 41 have a little bobble or something?
It had kind of been slow through a couple of the corners, and I wonder if it was just up to the driver to kind of gather it all up and really start at their pace. As we see the number 97, this is Sam Paley. That was a driver that I had just mentioned. I don't see any sector times on the board for the 97. I do show him on an outlap, but he's obviously sitting there in the paddock as number 41 car. Joe, you had wondered, was it not up to speed? Well, they are purple in sector number one, but it's really the only sector number one time that we've seen so far in the session.
It's easy to be fastest when you're the only one that set a sector one, probably. But I think we're going to get a better representation here with Brian Peel and the 94, and I think you get it right at the top of the hill here. And yep, they've taken it away, in fact, by about 1.1 seconds quicker in that sector alone. So yeah, I think something was up there with the 41. I can tell you, looking out the window, the 97 has the hood up, and someone was looking under it briefly. The driver's still in the car, but there's no hustle to try and fix anything. That's not good signs for that team.
Yeah, definitely maybe going through some electronics. Usually when there's nobody working on something, Joe, it's not a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey situation. It's more of a maybe cycle the thing down and start it back up and see if it fixes the problem. Now, obviously, I'm guessing out here, but they don't seem to be too urgent. Seems like Sam has got the car fired up. We're going to see if he takes it out onto the racetrack or if he takes it back onto pit road. Looks like he's going out onto the fast lane, so I would assume out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, okay, so just maybe a minor hiccup, hopefully. Alsup has now taken the fastest lap, but again, we're waiting on the 94 to come around. We're hearing that now it might be Colin Garrett that has hopped into that car that was on pit lane. Yeah, into the 95.
I believe for the 95, Joe, is Colin Garrett in the
Gotcha,
car.
okay.
Which should be the light blue of the BMWs. Now, they are campaigned by 9-4 Motorsports, the 94 and the 95. The one we've got on screen right here is the orange number 94, driven by Brian Peel, currently 2:08.4 was that last time by.
And they were not quick enough to be faster than Alsup. The 95 that you mentioned, I can actually see out my window. They've been parked on pit lane since before Paley brought his car in, so not sure if they've also got problems or if they are choosing to not put a lap in. We have to remember that I believe that blue car is the one that is going to be testing tires, so there's not really much reason for them to upset things with the pole out here in this group. In the meantime, Peel brings it down and around the outer loop once again, taking a purple first sector, another purple first sector, I should say, as they continue to drop the lap times. Alsup, fastest of anybody in Sector 2, but we wait 2 more corners to see whether or not the 94 will upset it. And I guess we were wrong. We thought the 97 was going out, but they are immediately back in.
Yeah, this is behind the wall, so they are in the paddock area. I'm not exactly sure what they're getting to there on the engine, but they have evidently at least found what the problem is, and now they're seeing if they can go ahead and fix this issue. Should have a couple more cars out there here shortly, though, Joe.
Let's, in the meantime, go down to Sloan. She's got another little bit of an update. Sloan, what you got?
Just caught up with the 97 team briefly. They said they're having power issues. They don't have a diagnosis just yet, but they're going to work on it, and hopefully we'll get some information soon. But right now, just telling power issues.
Thanks, Sloan. Just so frustrating because they haven't even put a time on the board. In fact, only 2 cars have, the 41 and the 94, so it's down to them. Although, as we can see, Colin Garrett, who now rightfully shows up on our timing as inside that powder blue car, is going to try and set a time down. Last time by, Peel has taken the fastest lap away, but it was all of half a second earlier in the other classes, Joey. This one, 0.129. That's pretty tight.
Oh, yeah, and then the 95 right there on the racing line going down the hill there in front of the 41. I know that he was off of the pace, but definitely made the 41 have to jump off of the racing line there in qualifying. And when there's only a 1/10 of a second between you and essentially your teammate up front, you're definitely going to be trying to maximize the width of this racetrack, maximize the speed that you've got out there. And right now, William Alsup trying to get that Retro Rockets just a little bit faster. It's not the situation that we had in ZR3 where we've got those big gaps between the cars. Out here, it's less than a 1/10 of a second, so just a little bit, maybe one better corner can promote that number 41.
They're not quite on the opposite ends of the track as well. The 41 just finishing the lap. The 94 is just finishing Sector 2. There is a decent gap between them, so we'll have to wait patiently. But look at this. Purple first and second sector. And now we come around to the timing line for that black and white BMW. Alsup in the car, cuts it down to a 2:030. That is a much bigger gap than last time by.
2 seconds now between these drivers, and it really is only those 2 cars out there in qualifying. I'm not sure if the 95 is going to lay down a representative lap time because you had already covered it. pretty much out here just collecting data and whatnot as this 41 and the 94 are duking it out. Right now, it is the 41 that has kind of given the uppercut with that 2-second advantage right now. We're going to see if the BMW M4 GT4 can respond in the next 5 minutes.
Well, it's not going to be on this lap. It was a 2:04.7 that last time by. They did go faster for them. So they're within 1.6 seconds, but it is not enough. And in the meantime, Alsup is going to circulate again, but I don't see a purple first sector. So the Retro Rockets not out of the woods yet. 9-4 Motorsports could still try and steal this one away. We're down to 5 minutes left to go, and there's plenty of open track. In fact, there is Peel in the orange machine being chased by, this is the 97 out on circuit. Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, this is the 97. This was the car that we had shown in the paddock. Remember, they were stopped on pit road with the hood up, and then we got the shot of them trying to fix something. And now they've got the 97 car out on the racetrack with 4.5 minutes remaining. This is their out lap, so Sam is going to hustle this thing around to start finish, and he should have time for at least one, probably two qualifying effort laps.
Credit to the team to get that thing turned around in time. It's crunch time for the driver because he's going to have to try his best to get a decent lap with very few opportunities. So hopefully you're very consistent and very on your marks each and every corner around here, because there's not much room for error. Alsup has brought it into pit lane, I'm showing. So they're not going to be able to respond if Peel does go quicker. That's not really time to get the car back out unless they turn it around pretty much right now, essentially.
Watching this number 97 car come up and out of the boot. And I was just looking at, so Sam has been doing a lot of GT4 racing, the driver inside of this number 97 BMW. He's been in a Ford Mustang GT4 primarily in Europe and Australia. I'm pretty sure he was just in Australia maybe a weekend ago, and now he's back over here stateside. And unfortunately, Joe, it does not seem like they have rectified the issue inside that 97.
Man, there's got to be so much frustration. Yeah, they immediately take it behind the wall. There's no going to the pit stall for one last little thing. But yeah, you're not wrong about Sam Paley. He's competed in everything from karts when he was younger to F4 cars, Mustang Challenge, and MX-5 Cup as well. So has been running the gamut in terms of North American competition on top of going abroad to compete. Let's head down to Sloan one more time. Sloan, you got something for us?
Caught up with Retro Rockets. I was tasking AJ. I said, what's going on? Did something happen? Are you just parking it? And he said that they didn't even know that they were on pole. So they're just bringing it to impound just to see. So that's why you see the car here, because they're currently on pole. That's some confidence right there if I've ever seen it. This team, I've never seen that before. So that's definitely an interesting take.
Qualifying's not.
Yeah, especially, well, I don't know if I would call it confidence, Joey, because they weren't even aware they were on pole, but that's got to be one of the best surprises as a driver if you just don't have that communication. You come in and somebody tells you, yeah, you're the fastest of anybody.
And it tells me that they went out and they got the performance out of the car that they were looking for. Because if you didn't get that lap and if you weren't happy with the car, I would assume that the driver and team are going to stay out there to try to get that performance, or at least identify, hey, do we need to stiffen up some sway bars? Do we need to drop some tire pressures? What adjustments do we need to do to make sure we can get the speed that we know is in there? However, it seems like Retro Rockets already very happy with the performance inside the car and simply pulled it in. And then, like you said, pole position is a great bonus so far, at least.
Continuing to watch the 94, they're going to carry on for what will be their last flying lap if they choose to take it. This one hasn't been anything to write home about. In fact, it looked like it was a cool-down lap, only a 2:16 for them. Colin Garrett just went purple in Sector 1. Now, like we said, they should be on a test run, I thought, so I don't know if they do actually intend to try and take this pole or if they're going to back out of it. But for the time being, Retro Rockets holds that fastest lap time, 1.3 seconds ahead of this car. Brian Peel behind the wheel, coming down to the braking in the inner loop. One of the fastest chicanes that you'll experience. It does slow you down, but it is so narrow and tight through there.
You were mentioning purple sector number 1 from Colin Garrett. I can report that sector number 2 shows about 2.2, maybe 2.3 seconds off of the Retro Rockets sector 2 time. The number 94 that we've got our eyes on right here, actually a pretty decent sector number 1. It's not necessarily the fastest overall, but it kind of puts them into contention, let's say. And especially if they can nail the rest of this lap, you could possibly improve that lap time. Just the one thing that I see is 1.3 seconds to go catch that 41.
That's a lot to ask for. And as the checkers come out, Sector 2 is off. So, yeah, Peel, I think, has backed off. So that is an abandoned attempt from the 94 team. And Retro Rockets manages to put one over on 9-4 Motorsports. Not able to take the fight to them, even though it looked close early on. Suddenly that BMW M3 just absolutely came alive late in the session. So we should see this orange car come on in. And from what I understand, it sounds like that 41 is already in pit lane, so I think we'll go down to Sloan to see how they feel about what was maybe an unexpected pole position.
This might be one of the funniest pole situations I think I've ever been in. We saw that your car was coming in, and I went to AJ and I said, is something wrong? Like, why are you guys coming behind the wall? And AJ was like, well, you know, we thought we just gave it all we had and we were just going to park it. And I said, what? Why? He goes, oh, we didn't realize we were on pole. So you're on pole. Congratulations. That's officially confirmed. You have your entire crew back there in the coveralls, which I love. Nipper, how are you feeling right now?
Well, that's exciting. I feel, well, right at the moment, great. Been a long time since I've been in pole position. Great job by all the kids today. We had always, you know, this is quite a car, so there's always stuff that we're messing with and trying to figure out, and it's, you know, a lot of highs and lows, but right now is a high and I'm going to take it. And yeah, thanks everybody for being here. This Zenith series, we're having so much fun. If you got a car or want to come race, come out and do this with us.
I love that. And yeah, Road America, I mean, that was a tough race. I remember you had that engine issue. You got one on Facebook Marketplace, put it in the car. Your crew worked overnight. I mean, so this is an incredible feat to have you guys on pole. What are you looking forward to for the race tomorrow?
Just really to be able to execute all the things that we've put in place. We've been working so hard at it, and I got so many young people that are really putting their heart and soul into it. And my hope and dream is that one of these days we're just going to put it all together and we're going to be able to show everybody exactly what we can do.
Yeah, I looked inside your pit box earlier, and there's a quote that said, winners never quit and quitters never win. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we've been doing it a long time, so you've been around it too. I mean, there are times you got to pick yourself up, and so sometimes just a magic marker note on the toolbox that somebody saw somewhere will be, you know, what you need to keep going. One more bolt kind of thing.
I love that. Well, congratulations, and we're looking forward to seeing you on track tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
Back to you guys.
That was our ZR2 class, which takes us to the last of the classes that need to qualify. This is one I'm absolutely looking forward to, Joey. The ZP2s. It is effectively a spec class, the only one in this series. So the time's probably going to be pretty darn close, especially with the level of competition. They bring in some really big hot shoes in some of these teams.
I think I'm right there with you. The competition level will definitely be closest in the ZP2s as we get Some good Retro Rockets team gear, Joe. So
Yeah.
we called an event a little bit earlier in the year with some vintage racing, and it looks like the Retro Rockets team could definitely go fit in over there as well.
I was just thinking that does look like, you know, your 60s, 70s garage mechanic getup. So I appreciate commitment to the bit, and they're going to get a nice team photo. It is a team effort to get these cars out on track and get these results. So glad to see them having fun. You could see some of our ZP2 cars lined up now as the round 3 racing team. Easy to identify with the bright primary colors of the blue, red, and yellow, all in the same pattern. And then, of course, the 908 team back there behind them for automatic racing, going to try to take the fight to both them and Stratus and Nimbus Racing, who are kind of effectively under the same banner, even though they've got different team names. So poor automatic racing is very much a David versus Goliath with these multi-car teams that seem to have incredible efforts behind them against a Lone Ranger, always trying to see what they can bring to the fight.
We talked about the draft earlier as we don't quite have the green flag. There's the green flag officially going now. But I was going to say, we talked about the draft earlier, and if there's going to be cars that are heavily affected by the slipstream, it's definitely going to be these ZP2 cars. I say that, you see the little air profile. They don't necessarily punch a huge hole in the air. However, the top speeds, they get up to their top speeds relatively quickly. So if you are following another car and you reach that top speed, you can use that slipstream to continue to gain all the way down the straightaway.
And if you are round 3 racing or Stratus/Nimbus, then you've got a lot of people that you could potentially try and work with. Even with the heat on the track surface, we're seeing a little bit of weaving to get temperatures into the tires. We've also got a few newer cars out there this weekend, I believe, competing. The 80 is a new one that we haven't seen out there yet. So, yeah, there's a few new faces. They're getting ready to compete. Callahan Peter, the one that's currently in that number 80 car.
We're going to see the highest of the cornering speeds with this class right here. Obviously, the aerodynamic downforce a little bit more than what you get out of a standard production-based car. And you see how low slung these things are. So when it comes to that, call it how high up the weight is, it is as low as you can possibly get it. These things are really extra large go-karts with some pretty cool drivetrain, lots of aerodynamic additions. And if you talk to the drivers on how they drive, they can certainly be a handful, so the drivers really have to stay on top of it inside of the cockpit.
Yeah, when I was talking to Kenny, one of the drivers for Round 3 Racing, he was saying that the transition not actually too difficult coming from open wheel racing. And you talked about how low they are. I actually had a chance to chat with Barry Waddell, one of the drivers / driver coaches as well in that team. He's been around the block quite a while in the racing world. And he was saying that so much of the speed comes from getting these things as low as they can to the ground. And at a track like this, which has gotten a repave in somewhat recent years and has stayed relatively smooth, it sounds like they're going to be pushing the limits of how tight to the pavement they can make these things.
And it certainly seems just kind of like the visual rake of the car. It always seems like they're sitting pretty low on the back end. Kind of goes along with what you're saying. That was wide through the inner loop for the first time lap on the number 5 car. That's Carter Pease. Went for a little bit of a ride out on driver's right, but thankfully was able to collect the car. I don't see necessarily a whole lot of dirt being kicked up onto the racetrack, but maybe just another lap to get everything up to temperature.
And you have to wonder if they are riding them as low as possible, going over that big curb on the exit of the inner loop. Will that do any damage if you straddle over the top of it like he did? We'll see whether or not the car stays out, but obviously probably not going to be the quickest lap time for that number 5 machine. Carter Pease currently inside there. Quickest in the first sector was Camden Hibbett. And now he's the quickest in the second sector. It was Jason Alder for a brief moment, and now has snatched that one away. But Camden Hibbett, who's certainly been quick on his day, is possibly going to take that number 4 car up to the top spot. We don't have any times on the board. This will be the first flying lap for all of the cars.
I had mentioned some of the drivers that I had recognized in that, call it ZR2 and also the ZR3 class. I see another new one out here with ZRS. Rob Eklund is actually in the number 908 car, giving chase here to Pease, and 908 is, of course, going to take that top spot for now, but there's a line of cars. You'd mentioned that number 4 car was purple in sector number 2. Well, it just went to the top of 158.1 for Camden Hibbett. I think what's more important, though, is look on the screen here, Joe. This 908 is going to get a huge tow this lap.
Ooh, this could be critical. Only 2 teams so far in this session have broken under the 2-minute mark, and we saw on the screen the 80 actually was having some problems with their transponder. Hopefully that'll get sorted out. And as we ride on board, yeah, look at how much time has been gained along the backstretch itself. Now comes the tricky part, though. They're caught up behind this car, and they probably don't want that slipstream as much, and in fact, he's going to have to make an overtake.
Rob goes down to the inside there, and thankfully Pease was able to notice him and lets him right on by. I think that the number 5 car was still just a little bit tentative up through that inner loop section, and so not only the slipstream from the 908 benefiting the lap time there, had to maybe check up just a little bit as that number 5 car was in the way, and I think we're kind of seeing it respond on timing and scoring. Rob Eklund was green personal best sector number 1. However, going into sector number 2 definitely cost him some lap time. And Joe, you were just mentioning the 59. Looks like they're a little bit off sequence. They just took the top spot of 157.8.
0.3 of a second between P1 and P2. From there, it's a big gap down to Rob Eklund in the 908 car. 1.3 seconds between them. And then it tightens up again a little bit more down to Peter in the number 80, managing to set a 2-minute flat 3. Here comes the 908. That lap, not an improvement, unfortunately. 2 flat 0 that time by.
I think we're going to see these cars, call it 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, start to close that gap, because this car that we've got on screen right now of Jason Alder, the number 59, is just a rocket ship, 0.3 of a second in between first and second place. But then comes the big gap, about 1.3 seconds between second and third. I expect all of those cars, and like I said, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, definitely to start finding the rhythm here in the remaining 7.5 minutes.
Jason Alder gets ready to cross the timing line into purple sector 2. They already hold the fastest lap. It's looking like it's going to be even quicker this time by. Personal best from Brandon Kidd in the 908. And then we've got Gorshkov setting a personal best in the number 3 as well. Otherwise, doesn't seem like anybody is really showing up at this stage. Could be backing off to try and set up for another push lap around here. But as we come down into the penultimate turn, Jason Alder about to extend it over everybody else after having already plopped it on the front row. This is out of the final corner. Let's see what the last sector becomes.
He's chasing a 57.8, and he drops it down to a 57.5. So it was purple sector 1, purple sector 2, but then the interesting part, only green sector number 3 out there. So there's somebody out there with a purple sector 3 that maybe has a little bit more speed in those closing corners.
All right, well, let's take a look at that, and it looks like it is Camden Hibbett who is the one next in line, 0.5 of a second back. So, yeah, that is the car, maybe the biggest threat to try and overtake them, at least on paper. Right now, currently, Hibbett did not do a personal best first sector, but did do a personal best second sector. And now goes Purple again, finding that little bit of speed in the final sector. It's just not enough to take the pole away. They are now within 1/4 of a second of Jason Alder.
Maybe just a little bit happier through those closing couple of corners. However, I kind of relate sector number 1 and sector number 3 in terms of pretty similar speeds. Got lots of those straightaway sections, so maybe just getting up and out of the boot section. The 59 car is going to gain a little bit more lap time. So Purple sector 1, Joe, I didn't see Jason really using all of track out there. Coming out of that corner, I wonder if the 59 is going to kind of take a little bit of a breather here in the remaining half a lap and try to set up another one, as I believe this is the number 4 of Camden Hibbett. This is the car that's chasing our pole position.
And we might want to watch that more with the edges of the track of the Stratus and the Nimbus cars, because Barry Waddell was telling me that generally they advise their drivers not to take as much of those curbs. They are concerned pretty much everywhere around this track about how much wear and tear they put through the car. It just does not seem to respond well to the vibrations from those ridged curbs. So they're finding the speed even without having to push it all the way to the edge of the track, it seems.
And remember, I had talked a lot about that at Road America and how well behaved the 59 car was and staying off of all of those curbs. And evidently the teams have kind of caught notice as well, especially with some of the attrition issues that we had a little bit earlier in the season. You definitely want to keep care of these ZP2 cars.
Last lap for Hibbett. We talked about that personal best. Same thing for Peter in the 80. And now Pease as well. The 5, after a rough start going off track in the first flying lap, is getting up to a top 5 position with his latest go round. Here comes Camden Hibbett in the number 4 car. No green in either of the first sectors. So this is, probably and absolutely is a cool down lap. That was a slow one from him. Maybe he's now picking it up. Let's follow this. Let's see what these first sector times look like.
And crucially, he crossed start-finish just over 4 minutes, and these cars at pace are doing just under 2 minutes per lap. So this would set up the number 4 car for potentially 2 more laps. Sector number 1, though, this is where they really need to start to make up that time. We've seen Stratus Racing be fastest in sector number 1 and sector number 2. Does the number 4 car have something for him? I do not see Purple, but I do see Purple for the 59.
Ooh, and they've already got that fastest lap time. I think we saw a flash there on a couple of our shots of the 77 team. That's the Nimbus car with, I think, Gavin Vaughn behind the wheel. They've got just enough time to get a lap or 2, actually more like 1 lap, I should say, here on the board. And we still haven't seen one from the 57 team either, unfortunately. But hopefully that will mean we'll get at least 7 cars with a representative time here in qualifying. No green sectors for anybody barring Vaughn in that second sector. And now Peter manages to go personal best sector 2 in the 80 car. But Alder showing as his latest lap only that first sector quicker. So I don't think he went quicker that time by overall.
And he just reset sector number 1 as Purple again. If I'm kind of forecasting something for the race, certainly seems that the 59 has some straightaway speed, and we saw that really be an advantage at Road America when it comes to the raceability factor and actually being able to make passes on the track.
Sounds like from discussions with the teams, a lot of the downforce I'm learning is actually coming from the underside of the car. So they tend to want to trim the cars out on top with the wings. They are looking to try and make them fast in a straight line and then rely on the underside of the car to find their grip that they need, just a more efficient way overall. So that would tie up to that team is finding themselves go so much faster down the straights, just being able to tilt that rear wing back and find themselves some more top end and hopes of overtakes during the race itself. Meanwhile, Alder did not go quicker in Sector 2, but Camden Hibbett has cut it down to a 28.3. That's about 2/10 off, a little less than 2/10 off of the fastest Sector 1. So certainly not out of the question that Hibbett could cut down and take that pole away.
59 is going to cross the line. Current lap time, 57.5. Doesn't look like it's going to improve this time. The one thing that has stayed consistent about this 59 is that they might not be dropping the lap time, but they're dropping that sector number 1 time every single lap that it is out there on the racetrack. So the consistency building for that team.
Hibbett didn't improve in Sector 2. We're watching him on screen now. Camden switching sides of the track up towards turn 9, opening this one up. You need as much of an entry as you can get with the way it just falls away from you. And then it's back onto the throttle briefly over the tunnel and into the penultimate turn. Quite a bit of banking on this one. You got to stay right down to the bottom of the circuit. And then back around to the final turn, and the car is heading towards pit lane. So this is not going to be an attempt from the 4 team to take the pole away, with the clock ticking down to 0 right about now. And it looks like Kidd in the 908 has followed suit. That's 2 cars that are officially done.
Watching the number 5 car here, this is Carter Pease. He was able to get to the start-finish line before the checkered flag comes out, and same thing with that number 3 car that's giving chase right now. That's Oleg Gorshkov. So both of these round 3 racing machines are going to be able to complete this lap. It's just a matter of if their drivers are going to be able to improve their lap time. I'm checking here for Carter. It seems like they've got about 1.2 seconds that they are going to need to improve to go grab what is 4th place position. However, Gorshkov, a little bit closer. I think that he probably could go catch that number 77 if he's got a good lap.
And you can see he pulled off to the side there. So I think the 5 has decided that first sector really not showing that they're going to be improving. So they're probably headed into pit lane at this stage. Jason Alder crosses the line. Not a phenomenal lap, but they really don't need it, as both 2nd and 3rd are already done with qualifying. Likely we will see that Stratus Racing 59 car up on the top spot. We are getting improvement from Callahan Peter, from Gavin Vaughn, from Gorshkov as well. We have 3 cars that could shake up the latter half of the field here on this final flying lap.
I think I see that the number 3 car should be the first across the start-finish line. That's going to be Gorshkov. His current lap time of 201.538. We're going to see if that round 3 racing car can improve. And yes, he does. He moves from 7th up into 6th position with a 201.3.
Remember that that double 7 car was out very late. For them to honestly get lap times as close as they are is a really great sign that they are in it very quickly. And as they cross, that was the 80 car crossing. Looks like they jump up into 5th. That was the 77. They jump up to 4th that time to 159.8. We might have the 80 car actually stopped on track.
I see that as well on timing and scoring. I do not see their actual transponder out there on the marching ant, so I'm not sure
I don't either.
if it is actually out there or if it's just a little bit of something that we see.
That might be a technical gremlin. So, yeah, I don't see them coming around. But that should be it. That is all of our teams having finished. And now we got to wait for the 59 to head down to pit lane to Sloan, taking the pole position. I don't know about you, Joey. I am not shocked at all that Jason Alder is the one that went fastest in this session.
Certainly not. Whenever he is inside of that Stratus racing car, he's going to usually be the anchor when it comes to these races, and you want to put your fastest guy in at the end so that way you can collect that checkered flag. So I'm with you. certainly not surprised to see Jason Alder leading the bunch.
And in the background, you could see a bunch of the cars now heading behind the wall. Alder amongst those as they've returned to pit lane. Going to be finding the victory circle for the interviews. There is that number 59 Stratus car now as the team and crew await him having to climb out of what is a very tiny little cockpit.
So you got the nets, take the wheel off, make sure everything is shut down. Nice and easy. See, I love that he's putting the shoulder belt up and over the side window net, and out climbs our overall pole position. Fastest driver, fastest car on the track today.
Gets the safety gear off. It's a lot in here to make sure that you can drive these cars at the high speeds around tracks like this. There's been a lot of advancements over the years to ensure that we get to enjoy these drivers competing for many, many years without having to fret about their well-being. And I'm sure the drivers appreciate that as well, even though we do love a little bit of a daredevil. Alder gets his glasses on, and let's head down to Sloan, who is getting ready to have a chat with our ZP2 pole sitter.
Jason Alder. Jason, we saw you on the podium at Road America, and now we see you on pole here. I think, let's walk this way, actually. I want to get a good photo op moment for you, if you don't mind. Just a little brief intermission, everybody. Jason, the commentators, Joe and Joey, were saying you just keep getting faster and faster every single lap. Can you give us maybe like a little hint, or is there like a little tip you can give to how do you find your speed on a track like this?
Well, the secret is Mario Kart and just practice, right? You just do more and more of it. The more laps you turn, the faster you get. All things aside, the boys work really hard, and they have to work really hard, and that's because the level of competition in ZP2 has just been getting better and better every race weekend we have. So they're giving us, the 4 cars giving us a run for our money this year. They've really turned up the wick. It's been a blast race with them, and it's cool seeing the time so close every qualifying and race session that we have. So yeah, really happy to get this one for the boys, but yeah, they're making us work for it for sure.
That's awesome. So you got the best seat in the house for tomorrow. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I haven't started a race all year long, so I think this is my first time. So that'll be a new, kind of special treat for me to have. And I know it's always so much fun. And, I get jealous, being outside of the car at those race starts with all the NPO ones out there just battling each other. So yeah, I'm excited selfishly to be a part of that this time.
And what are you going to do tonight to kind of prep for tomorrow?
I'm going to sleep. I'm going to drink a lot of water. I'm going to sleep. I'm tired.
And play some Mario Kart?
Yeah, and Mario Kart, of course.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. We're looking forward to seeing you out on track tomorrow. That's it for me down here. Joe and Joey, back to you guys in the booth.
Mario Kart. I'm taking notes down on how to find speed. But Joey, unfortunately, I did see that the 80 car did come to a halt in turn 7 now. So there was some sort of problem. We'll hope that the team can get that fixed. But we got to get rest, too, because we got 7 hours tomorrow.
And not only 7 hours tomorrow, but another 7 hours on Sunday. That's right, twin 7-hour races at Watkins Glen this weekend for Zenith Racing Series. Should be a blast.
And that will start at 9 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Make sure and join us here for the Zenith Racing Series, first race of the weekend at Watkins Glen. And until tomorrow, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.